What's up, Ocean? You got Matt here, and welcome to Season 3 of the Oshean League. The draft is over, the teams have been selected, and Week 1 has actually started. There are some players who have begun their Week 1, whatever. Some people have started their Week 1 battles already, and those are due, as of recording this coming Sunday. So they have about 5 days left to get those battles done, but I am here for something I do every single season, and that is a, draft recap, or a originating thoughts, my first thoughts on all the teams that were drafted. Now, I believe I'm just going to cover D1, depending on how we're doing for time, because I don't want this video going for like 50 minutes. We might cover D2 as well. D1 for sure, though. If you guys want to see power rankings, by the way, I want to give a huge shout out to OliviaSama, who will be doing the power rankings for us. So the first video will be going up on Friday, so make sure to go and check out her channel. The link's in the description. Subscribe to her for that. It should be a really fun time for those power rankings. She's gonna be doing a couple of them throughout the season, one at the beginning, one around the middle of the season, and then one at the end of the season going into playoffs. Should be very fun. But you guys see some of the teams on your screens right here. I do want to say congratulations to all the people who made it into the Oshean League. If you were not selected, thank you for your application nonetheless. Stick around in the server if you're already there. I am looking for people to be potential backups in case someone needs to drop. We've had drops in the past. I'm not saying that's going to happen again. I can't guarantee that, of course, but hey, you never know. We have a really good group of people here. I'm hoping that we can just have an amazing season where people learn a lot and the format just expands. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just give my initial thoughts on all different teams, talk about maybe one or two picks, and then how I think the team's going to fit all together. And then I'm not going to rank them or anything, just give my initial thoughts on the team. That's it. The ranking will be left alone for Liv. And before I forget, JCarlino will be doing pick'ems for us as well. So if you want to see some pick'ems as well, participate in that, make sure to join the Oshean server and ask for the Oshean League fans role, and you will be able to get the access to all the Oshean League stuff. Yeah. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into it. So the first team we'll be looking at is the Santiago Surge Surfers. Now this team is interesting. Obviously they have the first overall pick, and as the fan comes on, the first overall pick was the same in both leagues. Dragapult went first, and in my opinion that was the correct play. Dragapult is the best mon in this format, even with a bunch of Ubers allowed. You guys see it was 18 points there, not bad at all. And one of the things that's really strong at is it allows you to pivot, but it's also a phenomenal sweeper with access to Dragon Dance, and has phenomenal coverage on the special side, even though its special attack is only at base 100. But because it has 143 speed, not only has 143 speed, because it has that much speed, you can actually afford to run a Modest Nature or an Atom Nature majority of the time. You can run a Life Orb or a Choice Specs or whatever, Spell Tag if you need to, and really hit much harder. So Dragapult allows you to do that. So definitely a really strong option for the first overall pick. And I love the route that he went, going with a lot of options for momentum. You have Teleport in Slowking, U-Turn in Mandibuzz, Baton Pass in Diancie, U-Turn in Mienshao, Rotom gets Volt Switch as well, Chansey gets Teleport too. There's a lot of momentum that's going to be coming on your team, including Dragapult U-Turn. Really supports it well. I think the Kartana pick is phenomenal as well. Really is going to help break Fairy types for the Dragapult, which is going to be phenomenal for it, allowing it to really clean house late game. Mienshao as well, forcing switches, really weakening Fairy types as well. I think it's a really strong draft, one of the strongest in the entire league. I'm definitely looking forward to see how this team does. Back in the draft is a little bit iffy to me. In my opinion, I would have kind of gone with a very cheap pick instead of the Frosmoth Sandaconda Lightning Rock Midnight form, and kind of gone with a much higher ground type, a better ground type that is, than Sandaconda. But hey, there's a limited number of grounds available, even though this is national decks. You want to make sure you have the best ground for you, and for all I know, Sandaconda is something that he's very comfortable with, so it is what it is. Very strong team. Next up is the Dubai Dharm Riders, with a team of Tornadus, Excadrill, Latios, Galarian, Weezing, Chandelure, Mega T-Tar, Arachnid, Tangela, Adino, Girder, and Heliolisk. I love this team. It's a sand team, but at the same time, it's not too impacted by it. The thing with Hurricane, and some of you guys might say Hurricane is inaccurate. It's not accurate because of the what is it called? I'm trying to think of it. I can't even think of it. This is the hail. Sand. Oh my god. I'm pretty sure that the way Hurricane works is in Sun, it's 50% accurate, in Rain, it's 100% accurate, and anywhere else, it's 70% accurate. So it should be fine there. The Drill pairing with Mega T-Tar is a very standard pairing. It makes a lot of sense. It's a very good pairing. Latios is great. We did ban cut moves, so there is no Pursuit on Mega T-Tar, which makes it a little bit harder to deal with Psychic and Ghost types. But at the end of the day, I feel like this team can handle them pretty well with the ability, with the access to Arachnid to really deal with those. Heliolisk and Sand is still very scary. Not as threatening as in Rain or Sun, in my opinion, but it's still a very good mon nonetheless. Weezing is going to make it very easy to take on those fighting type hits that are going to come this guy's way, because, I mean, Drill is weak, T-Tar is weak, there's going to be coming very often. I think those are 2 must-brings. But then he also has Latios and Tornadus and Wheezing to kind of cover for those weaknesses, which is really nice. Fighting was going to be a big weakness to this team. Looking at it right now, the hazard situation, it's really just Drill and T-Tar that have access to rocks, and then it's webs with Araquanid, and that's pretty much it. There's no spikes. There's T-spikes on Wheezing, but that's pretty much it. So not bad, not my favorite team, but it's still really solid. It's a good way to use Tornadus T. I like it a lot. Moving on, our next team is going to be the St. Louis Cardinals. Urshifu Single Strike. You guys know I love Urshifu Single Strike. Definitely think it's a very scary mon in the format, and the fact that he was able to pair it with Mew is incredible. And Landorus T on top of that, oh my god. I like Landorus T as a Pokemon, I just don't use it well. Hopefully he can use it a bit better. Urshifu Single Strike is terrifying, and Mew giving it that support is very nice. And when you have a team like this that is extremely strong, you guys know I love Arctozold. Arctozold has been fantastic for us in the NCP. It's been really, really cool. And Arctozold Vanillix is going to be a phenomenal pairing because it takes off a lot of pressure from the team. Tapu Fini can sponge a lot of the fighting hits that are going to be coming Mew's way. Durant and Salazzle, not the greatest steel and poison types, but they are really good at one thing, that's killing fairy types. And this team does appreciate that a lot because you do have the Urshifu, which doesn't really want to take those hits. It's unfortunate neither of them get Momentum. I think Momentum would be a phenomenal addition to a poison or steel type that you want to be destroying those fairies, but not all teams can have that. Really solid team, like it. Bronzong, not my favorite steel type, but at the end of the day, Durant is kind of there as well, so it is what it is. Next up is going to be the New Orleans Noivern. Celesteela, Mega Altaria as a pairing right away for a Fairy Dragon Steel Core is kind of nuts. I'm not the biggest fan of just saying Fairy Dragon Steel Cores make a team, but it's a really good one nonetheless. I love Mega Altaria. I can just sweep you at the click of a button. There is no return, so it has to run Body Slam as its way to hit things, which is not the greatest, but also not the worst, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, it has a couple of really awesome ways to get momentum. Porygon Z's Teleport, Vullaby gets U-Turn, Charge Bug gets Volt Switch, but at the same time, you have the best ones being Rotomo's Volt Switch and Swampert's U-Turn. Those are fantastic. Rotomo just destroys any ground type in its path, whether it's water ground, whether it's just pure water type, it doesn't matter. Electric grass move is going to come out and destroy them. Terrakion is a very scary mon. I think this is a very strong team. A bit reliant on setup. I'm not going to lie. I think a roar spread on whatever is going to make it really tough for this team to win, unless the Alola Marowak and the Terrakion, are going to be putting in the most amount of work, which they definitely could, but who knows. Nonetheless, it's a very scary team, very well diverse, and I think it has a lot of strengths. Issues that I'm seeing with it, it has 2 Rockers, Terrakion, Swampert, and that's it. In terms of defoggers, it's got a good bit. It has I think Altaria gets a defog, I'm pretty sure it does. Rotomo, and so does Vullaby, so it's pretty good there as well. Next up, though, we have as I move over this, we're going to go to the next 6 teams, so we're going to move on to the Mumbai Manectrics. Mega Lopunny as a first round pick is phenomenal. Primarina is great. Surprised that Aegislash got to round 3, but hey, it is what it is. There was no, by the way, like you could choose these Pokemon whichever order you wanted. Like you didn't have to say like I'm going to go with my most expensive one first, my least expensive one last. It can be whichever order you want. I think the Mega Lopunny Primarina core is really nice, especially now that Mega Lopunny gets U-Turn and Primarina gets access to Flip Turn. That's fantastic. More momentum in Noivern, access to Mesprit's U-Turn, Jolteon's Volt Switch. Dugtrio gets Arena Trap, which is amazing to get rid of Steel types, Fire types, Rock types, and although it's not the most valuable type to be getting rid of on this team, it's still nice to have. I will say Torkoal is a little out of place. It's actually very out of place on this team. I think weakening the Sun for Primarina is a terrible idea. Strengthening Fire moves against the Moongus and against Aegislash really hurts, but hey, you maybe it'll work. I wouldn't be surprised. I think if this team had Venusaur instead of a Moongus, it'd be a lot scarier, but I think it's still going to be very strong nonetheless. Next up, the New York Necrozma. Zygarde 50%, Tapu Lele, Infernape, Magnezone, Suicune, Superior Spectre. That's a crazy beginning. And then has access to some really niche mons in the back with Dottler and Fortress for webs and rocks and spikes and spin and everything, which is nice. I think this team is very scary. The Lele-Zygarde combination is interesting because Zygarde does like to run Extreme Speed, but it usually doesn't need to click Extreme Speed right away. It can usually afford to wait a turn or two and then set up and kind of wear out some of the terrain, which would be nice, and then fire off the Extreme Speeds, whether it's going for Coils or Dragon Dances or Scale Shots or whatever the case may be. Infernape is nice for momentum as well, getting into those bigger threats, the Zygarde, the Lele, which is nice. Spectrier can just sweep a game on its own. Very scary. I think this team has... like the first 7 mons, the Zygarde, Lele, Infernape, Magnezone, Suicune, Superior, and Spectrier, that's 7 mons that are really good, and I think this is the problem with a team like this. He's going to run into the issue of oh shit, which Mon do I bring now? Which Mon do I leave off? There's so many good ones. So many have good matchups. Which one do I do? But they do break for each other really effectively. A lot of special offense. The physical offense is a little bit lacking. Like Infernape is the best physical attacker on the roster, and it's not. I think it has like 108 in its attacking stat. Zygarde only has 100. I think physical attacks are going to be definitely a problem, and they're not going to be able to break through special walls sometimes, because if they have a really good special wall in front of them, usually you want to have a physical wall to break it, or maybe a set of Spectre or whatever to be able to beat it. That might be an issue later on, but hey, this team is definitely very scary, and for a 12-mon team, because not every team decided to go the route of having 12 Pokemon on the roster, this is a really strong one. I'm not gonna lie, I like it a lot, but to me, I don't go this route of drafting. I'd rather have 3 or 4 insane Mons and then a bunch of Mons that can just fill in holes that are going to be all possible brings. I don't see the Wigglytuff, the Fortress, the Archeops, the Skuntank even coming to very many matchups, and Dollar will only come if he wants webs. That's pretty much it. Moving on to the Colorado Rock Slides, this team is interesting. A good bit of momentum early on with Slowking, Zarude. Actually, I don't think Glaring Slowking gets access to teleport, so excuse me on that, but Comfey gets it, Flygon gets it, Masquerain does, Cinderace, Thundurus T is nice. I think this is one of the weaker teams I've seen so far, though, because look at this team. A lot of other teams have 16-point Mons. The team we just covered before has 3 16-point Mons. This team has nothing higher than a 15-pointer, and then after that, it's 13 and below. And it may get a little rough. I think this team is very diverse. It's very strong, but has a couple weaknesses in the fact that it's going to get overwhelmed by some insane Pokemon. It doesn't have a real insane Pokemon on this team, and that is, by the way, that is Blaze Cinderace, to make that clear, so it's not completely broken. I do think it has some potential, though. Zarude is a nice pickup. I'm kind of falling in love with it in theory. I haven't used it yet, of course, but for what it provides, its typing, the fact that it gets momentum is very nice, and I've seen Liv use it very effectively. I think it's going to be a really strange fit, but a really cool Mon nonetheless. And Galarian Slowking is on my bucket list to use. I really want to. Comfey I absolutely love. We're using it in the BBL. Only 1 week has gone up so far, but I'm excited to see what we can do with it for the rest of the season. And Cinderace, we won a title with that thing. Same thing with Mamoswine. So I definitely have some love for those Pokemon. I think this team can do a lot of work, but it's going to have to be on the back of some really good play and hopefully some good matchups, because like missing Pokemon that are high tier, like really high tiered, is going to be hurting this team a lot. Like you look at the next team we're covering, the Chicago Chikoritas. This team has what? 2 Pokemon that are 16-point Mons. The other team had 1 15-pointer, and that's it. You still end up getting 12 Pokemon, but they're less balanced out in terms of their points. They're more diverse in that way. Magmar for 2 points is just there to have a fire type, I guess. But hey, look at this team. Clefable, I love Clefable. I think in a draft like this, it becomes very difficult for people to, especially in 20-team drafts, it becomes very difficult for it to be broken, and that's kind of what it's going to be here for. It's going to really be tough to break. Teleporting around, getting into Mega Aerodactyl, into Nidoking, into Metagross, into Shell Smashing Blastoise is really nice. I think this team has a decent amount of pivots with Electivire, Serena, and Porygon 2, which is amazing. And other than that, I do think this team can be really strong immediately, especially with the Aerodactyl, with that speed. Looking at it, though, I do notice there is a massive speed jump. Like the fastest Mon on this team is 105 outside of the Mega Aerodactyl, which is like 150. So anything faster than 105 will basically be able to say, yeah, that's fine, and you're good to go. I think Scarfers are going to come from the Mega Aerodactyl, that's for sure, but Pokemon that are like, let's say, can run Adamant Nature or Modest Natured against this team because they outspeed the, or Adamant or Modest Nature because they outspeed the Miss Magius at that speed point, are going to be very big problems for this team, so I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes an issue. Galarian Moltres is interesting. I really like it in theory. Wish it got Roost, but I used it in one game. It walled everything. It was so bulky on the special side with the Assault Vest, with Roost, with Air Slash, with Fiery Wrath. It's going to be insane. I think it's a really cool team. Not the team I would use, but it's definitely a really cool team nonetheless. Moving on, we're going to have a crazy team starting out. The mighty Rudin Tootin. Where is it? Militia Bros. All right then. Interesting name, but hey, is what it is. This team is really cool. I'm going to move it just a little bit over. There we go. So this team with Mega Gallade is crazy. Mega Gallade was in the, I think, the highest tier, which is nuts. The fact that it went at number 9 alone is amazing for him. But I do think it has a couple of issues now that I'm looking at it quickly. It is very strong. I'm not gonna deny that. I don't like the Manaphy pick at all. Manaphy is solid in theory, 100 base stats all around, but no Tail Glow takes away the biggest thing it was good at. A Calm Mind set is still viable. A Screen set is still viable. Rest Hydration with Rain Dance is still viable. But the nuke that was Tail Glow is no longer there. It doesn't even get Nasty Plot, and that is kind of the issue that we're looking at right now. Sylveon is a round 2 pick, not a fan. Dragonite is a round 3 pick, not a fan. I don't like Corviknight personally. G-Max is one thing, but Corviknight alone, not a big fan. It just has a lot of Pokemon that, to me, I'm not a big fan of outside the Mega Gallade, and that's why I think it's just not my favorite, but it's still a solid team nonetheless. I think it's going to have a lot of strengths, a lot of good games this season, but it could be a bit of an issue. Like, I'm looking at it right now, it has a good bit of hazards. Actually, no, it really doesn't. It has Aerodactyl and Mudsdale for rocks, and Kecleon, I guess that's 3. It's better than what we covered for a couple other things. It's got a lot of defog, which is nice, but it has three flying types. That's insane. And it's got, I think, 5 weaknesses to ice, and what, resist in Manaphy and Arcanine, and that's it. It's not going to be great. I think ice types are going to really cause problems to this team, especially if they have coverage for the Arcanine or the Manaphy, so it's going to be very tough. Regardless, moving on to our next one, the San Antonio Dunsparce. I have to point that out, Dunsparce, not Dunsparce. I was told to make sure I remember that. But regardless, this is your classic rain team. Coco. Okay, but then you have Pelipper, Mega Swampert, Scizor. Beautiful. That is rain in a nutshell. Then you have access to Jirachi for just shenanigans with flinching. Could be very scary. Hydreigon as well. The fire types are going to be weakened in the rain, making Scizor a lot more potent. Miltank is nice for thick fat as well to deal with ice types. I think this team will have a bit of an issue dealing with water types though. You have Quillfish there for a water resist, you have Hydreigon there for a water resist, and you have Pelipper. But these are all attacks going in the rain. A lot of these Pokemon have coverage, whether it's ground coverage, psychic coverage, electric coverage, bug coverage, fighting coverage, something. There will be coverage to hit these Pokemon, and it's going to be very tough for them to beat it. But regardless, a Tapu Koko makes rain so much scarier. I do wish there was another form of I guess, an immunity. There is Emolga, but Emolga's not going to come very often. It may be a bit of a deterrent, but I love Electivire on rain teams because it allows you to bring a Pokemon that's still decently fast, has access to electric immunity, has really good coverage, and a really amazing attack stat at 123. And unfortunately, Emolga being the only other immunity to electric, other than Mega Swampert, of course, is to me not the most ideal situation. Moving on, the Westminster Weavile's Mega Garchomp is phenomenal, and you pair that with Gigalith too. Okay, let's hope you get some sand as some sand abusers, I guess. And the sand abuser is Stoutland, and it was around 3 Stoutland. Okay, so I feel, there's also Alolan Dugtrio. So I feel with this team as I get more comfortable, it's an interesting concept. I think it was too early though. I think you went way too early on it. You could have made your team a lot better. It didn't have to be a sand team because Mega Garchomp, yes, it gets access to, I think it's Sand Force or something. It doesn't need to run Sand Force. It's nice to have, don't get me wrong, especially when you have access to Scale Shot to boost your speed, and you don't really need to run Swords Dance now. But it didn't need to be a sand team. I think going with Gigalith was a mistake that round. I think you could have waited, definitely. Maybe someone goes with Gigalith and he snipes you, but at the end of the day, Gigalith should be an addition to your team, not the main thing that you bring every single week. Regieleki is great, but I'm looking at it, how are you really going to beat down the... what is it called? How are you going to beat down the... I'm trying to think of the names. the ground types for Regieleki. Your electric type is Regieleki, which is great and all, but again, what are you going to do to beat them? Empoleon is your water type. Empoleon is weak to ground types. Not great. Moltres is your flying type, but it's 4 times weak to rock, and almost all ground types will have rock coverage for you. I find it to be a little bit tough. You have a lot of answers, a lot of really good rockers, which is nice. The Garchomp, the Gigalith, you have access to the Empoleon as well, the Dugtrio too. In terms of removal, I believe you only have the Empoleon and the Moltres, and that's not great. But especially because Moltres is your only, is 4 times weak. But hey, it is what it is. I'm sure it'll work. Grimmsnarl could be very cool, especially on a team like this. I just think the team is cool in concept. It could have been done later on the sand and would have been still very scary. Stoutland was definitely picked way too early. You could have waited till one of the last rounds for that and been really happy with something. But hey, it's a learning experience. We all are here to learn. And moving on, we can go on to the next one, which is going to be the LA Toxtricities Mega Mawile Latias as a Fairy Dragon Steel Core. Cool. Interesting. I believe it has a good bit of momentum on it. Rotom-Wash, Crobat, Zoroark, and Decidueye are all really good at getting momentum, which is nice. It's great and all. I think this team would be a lot scarier if it had Latios instead of Latias. And Latias did get picked before Latios did. And I think, even though I think Latios might have cost an extra point or two, I would have still gone with Latios because you don't really need the Auroras on this team. or the Rabu. Like having Veil is nice with Auroras, but it's not necessary. This team is going to be very scary. The fact that you can conceal your Mega Mawile as a Zoroark, oh my god, like forget about it. It's going to hit so hard. It's going to be causing so many problems. Like what wants to come in on Mega Mawile in reality? Like water types, fire types. Zoroark can just hit them with a neutral Dark Pulse that's going to be stab, and it's going to be doing a good chunk of damage, breaking them to the point that Mega Mawile or Latias can come in and just clean up the game after that. Going to be really, really cool. I like it in theory a lot. Looking at it, it's got removal like crazy. It's got so much removal. The issue, I think there's a bit of an issue with the speed tier. Like you have Latias at 110, Crobat at 130. I like to have something in between that range just to make sure I'm not getting crept by something that's around the 120-ish range. But hey, it's still a very strong team nonetheless, and I think it's going to be a very solid team going forward. Moving on, oh, this is actually a team that had 1 point left. I just noticed the Westminster Weaviles have 7, right here, 7 points left. That is crazy. You have 7 points left. This is the thing. I want to give a bit of knowledge here. If you're ever in a points league, most of the time, like 99% of the time, the way the transactions work is it's based on how many Pokemon you pick up, not how many Pokemon you drop. So if he decides he wants to drop a little Dugtrio and pick up an 11-point Mon, that's going to be a transaction there, okay? But if he decides to pick up 2 Mons, like a Alolan Dugtrio, he just decides to pick up a Alolan Dugtrio and drop a Alolan Dugtrio, pick up something and something else, it's going to count as 2 transactions. Always use your full transactions. There's 7 points. This is a really good Pokemon still available that you could pick up, but hey, teach their own. Anyways, moving on, we'll go to the next team, which is going to be Team 13, the Macquarie Mewtwo X with Urshifu Rapid Strike. Very cool, but also we pair that Kyurem, Raikou, Volcanion, and Necrozma, and at the same time you get Silvally as well. This is a really cool team. I love the idea and I love the concept. Gligar without access to Hidden Power Ice in the format is going to be very scary. Raikou with Scald in the game is very strong. Urshifu Rapid Strike is dope. One of the biggest threats to Urshifu Rapid Strike are going to be bulky waters and bulky psychic types, and you have access to Kyurem with Freeze Dry for those bulky psychic types, which is amazing. The big issue though, where is your answer to psychic types in general? They're not really there. Like you're gonna hit him with Volcanion's like water and fire moves, which is dope and everything, but other than that, like there's nothing else. You don't have, like, I'm looking at your team, your dark type is Silvally, your ghost type is Silvally. Like it's not really condoning the best of the best for Urshifu Rapid Strike. I think it could have been supported a lot better, but I love the pairing of Kyurem and Raikou, and Kyurem and Urshifu, excuse me, and Raikou is just the cherry on top of the sundae. Necrozma is its own monster, and I think this team will have a lot of success just based on its first 5 Pokemon being really strong, and then the rest of there to support, but I think it is missing a solid ghost type or a solid dark type on this roster. Next up is the Washington Wynotties with Mega Scizor and Garchomp as their first 2 picks, which is really cool. If this was the Gen 7 meta, where Hidden Power is legal, is in the game, then I think this would be phenomenal, an amazing pairing, especially when you pair it with Whimsicott as well, and even Probopass, because I love the idea back in Gen 7 when Hidden Power was allowed to make it so that you can, what's the word I'm looking for, diversify a lot. So instead of having one 4 times weakness that's going to be to fire in the Mega Scizor, you have another one to ice, and Scizor resists the ice and Garchomp resists the fire, and that way they kind of really help each other out a lot. It's a really good pairing. With Scale Shot, this team becomes a lot more scary. With the Garchomp, Victini is an absolute threat. Like, this is the thing, there are some teams, I said before, that have one 15-point Pokemon, then a bunch of Pokemon below 13. This team has 3 Pokemon above 16 and another one at 14, which is amazing. I think the one odd Pokemon out in this draft is the Blissey. I do not like Blissey and Chansey in draft. I think Chansey's better in draft, even though it has to hold the Eviolite. But regardless, I think... actually, sorry, what am I saying? Blissey's better because Chansey has to hold the Eviolite. Excuse me. But regardless, it is still a really cool team. I think Tentacruel is a mon that I want to use and want to get better at using because it seems very cool. I'm going to be taking a look and seeing what they do with this team, with Tentacruel moving forward. Very interesting team. I think all the momentum that it has, Mega Scizor, Victini, Thundurus, Whimsicott is nice as well, Swellow, and Blissey, even Golisopod's first impression into Emergency Exit is going to be very, very cool to see how that's done. Moving on, we have the Buffalo Buffalant with Zorora as their first pick, Buzzwole to counteract those Urshifu single strikes, Hatterene, interesting, Mega Charizard X round 5. That is crazy. I think this draft, honestly, was saved by round 5 Mega Charizard X. Looking at the rest of it, it's nothing crazy, and I don't know why Venusaur is here. I really don't, because Venusaur is going to do its best either when you're running Sunny Day on something, okay, and if not, it's going to be because you're bringing Vulpix. I think you should either get rid of Venusaur and pick up something else, You know what? Amogus would be great on this. I know Amogus for a fact was on the team with Torkoal. So one of you trade Torkoal, the other one trade Venusaur, whatever it is. Just someone get the Sun on your team because it would be very scary. I think Sun with Mega Charizard X would be insane. And give Zorora on top of that so that if anything beats it because it's faster, then Zorora is going to outspeed that thing. It'll be very scary. I like the concept. I like it in theory. But I mean, it's going to be a challenge, I think, because Venusaur, I love it. It's going to be great, but Vulpix is not something you want to bring all the time, even though you want to get up your Sun. I get that, but it's not going to be great all the time. I think Zorora, Buzzwole, Mega Charizard X are going to be phenomenal together, and those are going to carry you to majority of your wins, if not because of Trick Room Hatterene, and I really don't like Registeel in Draft. That's just me. You can make it work for all I know. Moving on to the next team is the Hidden Hitmontops with Zapdos, Ferrothorn, and Vaporeon. Very, very bulky. And then you add Nidoqueen, Mega Sableye, Incineroar, and access to Hitmontop, and that's Sheer Force Landorus, by the way. Not Sheer Force, Sand Force, excuse me. This team is fat. I think it's going to have a lot of issues breaking a team immediately, unless it's running a Life Orb Nidoqueen, which then is going to struggle beating things that are faster than it because Nidoqueen won't outspeed. It's going to be tough, but if this team can stall things out, it's going to benefit from that. There's no timer, so it can really just keep the game going and really wear down its opponent with hazards, with spikes, with toxic, with burn, whatever the case may be, and be a nuisance. And I definitely think it's going to be a very big threat in the format. Moving on to the next team, we have the Birmingham Steelix. We come to the end, and oh no, I just realized there's not enough. You can't see the final team. I'm going to have to do some live editing after that. So we're going to see if I can make this a bit bigger. Maybe it'll work if I make it a bit bigger. Did that work? It did not. It made it worse. let's make it smaller and see what happens. Still didn't work. All right, we're gonna cut, and I'll be back in a second. All right, so we are back. So the team that I couldn't see was the Hellblaze Volcarona, but we'll get them at the end. Birmingham Steelix, you got the Rillaboom Heatran combination. Instead of Bulutran, you got Rillatran, and I think it's gonna be a fantastic pairing. Pair that Togekiss, Slowbro, Kommo-o. Oh my god, it's gonna be amazing. I do not like the Mega Selection of Mega Manectric because it does not get access to Hidden Power anymore, and it's a really big deal because it cannot touch ground types anymore at all. I think it's going to be very cool, though, to see how the Rillaboom Heatran combination is going to work, and the fact that it has a good bit of momentum with Rillaboom, with Slowbro, with, I guess, the Braviary and the Manectric is going to be really cool to get into the Kommo, and I believe I said that Kommo can use kind of Soul Blade on this. I should probably double check that right now, so I'll go to the draft board, and I'll take a look. I'll look for Kommo. Where are you, Kommo? Okay, Kommo-o, I did not put any restrictions on it, which means it can use Clangorous Soul. Clang skills? No, Clangorous Soul, that's it. That's the word. So, it can be very scary. It can be very, very scary, but hey, it is what it is. I think this team can be a huge threat, and we'll see what it can do going forward. Looking at it, any notes here I want to quickly mention? Good bit of rockers. Everything can do kind of anything. Like, you can have offensive or defensive, Rillaboom, Heatran, Togekiss, Slowbro, and Kommo-o. So I feel pretty confident it's going to be basically those 5 coming plus Nihilego plus whatever each individual week. I would be surprised if more than 2, probably more than 3 actually, of each of the individual mons came. But these first 5 are really, really solid. They cover each other really well. The Fairy Dragon, it's not the Fairy Dragon, Steel Core, the Fire Water Grass Core of Rillaboom, Heatran, and Slowbro is fantastic, and the Fairy Dragon Steel Core of Heatran, Togekiss, and Kommo-o is also very scary to deal with. I think this team is going to be a big threat, and it kind of, I think it did the Points League draft the right way. It's a very good team. Moving on, the United Umbreons with Mega Venusaur, Keldeo, Skarmory, Dracozolt, Umbreon, Butterfree, round 6, interesting. Okay. Entei, Alchemy, Ditto, and Tyranitar with Vespiquen and Sandslash. This is also a Sand team-ish. There's 3 Sand teams now, I think. The team that had Gigalith, this is why, like, Tyranitar wasn't taken until round 10. You could have waited. Good on the United Umbreons for waiting and getting their Sand Setter after. Dracozolt in the sand is going to be very scary, very tough to deal with. I think it's supported okay. Like, the biggest issues it has are dealing with ground types and dealing with fairy types. Venusaur isn't dying to fairy types. It's not. You have access to Keldeo to beat those ground types as well. And Entei is a good nuke against a lot of things and can really pressure a lot of the Pokemon that would be coming on Dracozolt as well. And it can't really, like, these Pokemon can't deal with them both. So, in theory, I like it. But it's going to be a work in progress. I think missing on a good bit of momentum here is also kind of unfortunate. Like, I'm looking at it, I think the only Pokemon like momentum is like Butterfree's U-turn and Keldeo Slip Turn, that's it. And I personally don't like my drafts like that, but hey, more power to you. If you do well, good on you. Next up, the Carolina Toros, get a 16-point Mellow Medal as the 19th pick in the draft. Incredible. And paired with Mega Gardevoir. That's nuts. Mega Gardevoir is hell strong. The thing I started not to like about this is that Crawdaunt was the round 4 pick. I don't like Crawdaunt in this selection here because your team is already really, really slow. Like, look at this team. Outside of, like, you have Tauros for, like, I think it's 105 or something, or 110 in terms of speed. Zygarde at 110 or 115. But, like, Zygarde isn't great. I think Zygarde 10% isn't great. 1,000 Hours is a spammable move, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's that great in the format. It's just my opinion. And then Tauros is not going to be coming very often. I think it's a bit of a slow team that isn't supported well because look at the options. I think Trick Room is going to be Reuniclus, which is nice. I think Reuniclus actually kind of saves this draft a little bit because you can run Trick Room with your Crawdaunt, Trick Room with your Melmetal, Trick Room with your Reuniclus, and be very, very scary. So we'll see how it turns out. I think it's more of a Trick Room team than it is going to be an actual offensive team, and it's going to have more success under Trick Room than it is under normal circumstances. The final team is going to be the Hellblaze Volcarona, and this is one of the only teams I think that actually only has 10 mons. I should just double check that quickly. Yeah, it is the only team that has 10 Pokemon. Good on them. Good on Just Lucas. Now, Mega Diancie Gliscor as your first 2 picks. Gliscor apparently in this format is insane. We have it at 17 points. I do not play much this format, but without Hidden Power Ice, with access to Poison Heal, God, this thing is going to be so annoying to take down. It's bulky as hell. Its typing is phenomenal. And I'm just looking at it, then you decide to pair it with Toxapex. Why? Toxapex is bad, but you have Glastrier, Dracovish, and Galarian Zapdos on top of that too. This is how you do a points draft in my opinion. Obviously, my opinion may not be the same as yours, but look at it. This team has how many Pokemon that are over? 13 points are over. It has Dracovish, it has Toxapex, Hoopa, Gliscor, Diancie, and Galarian Zapdos. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that are over. Or no, 6, excuse me, that are over 13 points. And then has access to Glastrier still, which is crazy. Credillia as a good water immunity is very nice to have as well. It's not an ice resist either, which sucks, but Capraja is. I think this team is really cool. I think it has some weaknesses though. And the big thing is Toxapex. I think you could have done a lot better than Toxapex. And I think you really want to stack up on a lot of momentum. And Hoopa and Toxapex and Glastrier don't provide that. And a team with Galarian Zapdos and Dracovish, I think, and especially and Mega Diancie as well, you really want to have a lot of momentum and really force people to worry about those things. But it's still a very scary team. This team, to me, is the biggest threat in the league. It's not the scariest team, don't get me wrong, but I think this team has a lot going for it. And the fact that it was last, hey, is what it is. At this point in time, I've been recording for 33 minutes, so I think I'm going to cut it here. We're not going to do D2. If this video gets 100 likes, I will do D2. So 100 likes, I will do D2. At the same time, if I want every single person in D2 to comment down below they want to see the video. If one person from D2 does not comment, we're not getting a D2 video. This video takes a long time to do, okay? But hey, you guys got to show that you want it. Power rankings are up on Friday with Liv. Make sure to check those out. I'm excited to see those as well, see her thought process on them. Of course, make sure to subscribe to her. Make sure to subscribe to JCarlino for the pick'ems, and I'll have both their links in the description down below. Subscribe here as well. We're on the road to 1,100 subscribers, and I do want to get there at some point, so let's do that. We kind of slowed down a bit in subscribers since we did the post comms, but we're back to live comms and to Wi-Fi, so if you haven't been watching the videos, make sure to stick around for those. Been really happy with the thumbnails been going up lately, so we definitely want to have that. Again, guys, 100 likes on this video, we will do D2, and I want a comment from every single person that's in D2 telling me that they want the D2 video to come out. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Take a look at the Pokemon on these teams, the different teams. Let me know which team is your favorite, the scariest, which team you think is going to do the best down in the comments below. And I will see you guys all next time.